if you knew the steps to get from where you are now to where you ultimately want to go, then you would already be there because you would have already taken them. You would have already done it at this point in your life. And so you don't know how to get there. And that's how it should be, because the only way that you could actually know how to make it happen, know how to make it your reality, is to have already done it. Hey there, lovely. If you're a driven and highly ambitious woman who has checked all the boxes, followed all the rules, only to realize you don't actually feel fulfilled or you don't feel like you're living your purpose, then you are absolutely in the right place. My name is Melissa Chavis. I'm an intuitive mindset coach, and I am absolutely obsessed with helping you discover your true purpose, that thing you were put here on this earth to do, so that you can live the most fulfilling and abundant life possible. Hey there, beautiful. Welcome back to another episode of the Authentic Awakening podcast. I just want to start by saying that I am so incredibly grateful that you are joining me here today for this conversation. I want to talk about something that comes up very, very frequently in my conversations with women inside my coaching practice. And that is the feeling of overwhelm. I hear so often that women who are in this place where they have realized that they're not feeling the fulfillment, the joy, the meaning in their lives that they want to feel. And they are in this place of trying to create a life where they do feel that way. They a lot of times bump up against this strong feeling of overwhelm when they start to try and think about how they're going to actually create that life. And what I find is that a lot of times it is because they are sort of consistently anchoring themselves a little bit too far forward in this grand vision that they have. And what I mean by that is they start coming up with this vision for their lives, right? And they dream big. They dream about what is truly possible for them in this life and this dream life that they've come up with. And then they immediately jump to, what are the steps I need to take to get there? And they start trying to come up with this roadmap of, I need to do this, and then this, and then this. And it all feels incredibly overwhelming because the gap between their current life, their current reality, where they are right now, and where they see themselves in the future, and this grand vision that they've come up with is huge and seems at first glance pretty improbable that they will be able to make this leap from where they are now to where they ultimately want to go. Also, they think, I don't know how to get there. I can't even come up with a clear roadmap or blueprint of how I would get from here to there. And I just want to say that that's all very normal and common and to be expected, because ultimately, if you knew the steps to get from where you are now to where you ultimately want to go, then you would already be there because you would have already taken them. You would have already done it at this point in your life. And so you don't know how to get there. And that's how it should be, because the only way that you could actually know how to make it happen, know how to make it your reality, is to have already done it. You will not know the steps, the roadmap, the blueprint to get to where you want to go until you've already gotten there. Because that is how you find out, is by doing it, taking the actions, making the moves to get yourself there. When you're still right here in your current present day life reality, you cannot, with that mind, with that brain, conceive how to get there because you haven't done it yet. And so that is all absolutely normal, to be expected, how it should be, really. But when you don't understand that, and when your brain tries to create a clear roadmap for you, create some clear direction, clear steps, because that's what your brain thinks that you need to have before you start out on any journey, is you need to know exactly how you're going to get there. I mean, that's why we have, all of the navigation apps and everything that we have, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to go there. I need to know the exact steps to get there. And so that's kind of how the brain works. It thinks like, oh, well, this is just like driving to Cleveland, right? I just put that in there, put it in my GPS, like I'm driving to Cleveland, and it gives me all the steps. And so your brain thinks that you should be able to do that in your life as well. But that's just not reality. That's not how it works. And so this is exactly why I have actually crafted this new intensive training that I am going to walk through basically all of the aspects that you need to implement in your life to kind of break free from this current reality and start doing what it takes to truly manifest this dream vision, your best life that you have envisioned for yourself. And this training is going to go through each of the aspects and pieces of this puzzle from a macro level of all of these high level beliefs, mindset changes that need to occur, all the way down to the micro level of, okay, so I have all of this, but what do I actually do in my life? How do I move through each day to get closer and closer to this vision that I've created for myself? So the training is going to go basically from beginning to end, like all of the pieces to this puzzle of what you need to implement in your life in order to get from your current reality to this vision that you have created for yourself. Hopefully, by the time this episode goes live, we'll have a place for you to click the link and find out more about this intensive that I have created. It is essentially taking feedback from a 5-day challenge that I've been doing with some women in my community and paring it down to the essentials of what I think is truly important and needed on this journey, and walking you through step by step of how do I get from where I am right now to truly living and being in this ideal version of my life that I have envisioned for myself. So I'm really excited about this. I think it's going to be an amazing, quick, intensive program that will really kind of jumpstart this journey for you and get you out of that place of feeling so overwhelmed about, I have no idea how to do any of these things, to, okay, I have clarity around the pieces that I need to implement in my life in order to make this happen. So by the time this is live, there will be a link in the description below that you can click on to learn more and to get in on this amazing new program that I have just created. Okay, so back to the overwhelm, back to the pieces that I want to talk about here today in this episode. First, as I mentioned, you shouldn't know the steps. You're not going to know the steps. When you start out on this journey and you are finally in this place where you have made the decision that you are changing your life and you are going to get to this place where you are feeling truly fulfilled, joyful, purposeful in your day-to-day life, you are not going to know the exact steps that you as an individual need to take to get there. Totally normal, totally expected. And like I said before, if you already knew the steps, if you had this clear roadmap on how to get from point A to point B, then you would have already done it. And you haven't yet, which means you don't know the steps yet. So totally normal. And second, as one of my mentors, James Wedmore, loves to say, F the how for now. You can hold your vision. You can hold this ideal version that you have created in your mind, but keep your focus in the day to day and take it one step at a time, one foot in front of the other. The journey truly is just in the small details, the decisions that you make on a day-to-day basis, and continuously moving yourself in that direction. And you will not know the how to get there until you're already there. I promise you. That is when you get that level of clarity of knowing the exact steps that you need to take because you've already taken them. So I think that in today's environment, especially in the self-development space, it is really common to hear these conversations about the bigger picture and manifesting your dream life. So we put a lot of focus and attention on this grand vision for ourselves and dreaming big and coming up with what does my ideal life look like? And all the pieces of it down to the detail of what are you wearing? Who are you with? What are you doing on a daily basis? Like moment to moment, how are you moving through your life and living? And what does that all look like for you, right? And you come up with this big, giant vision for yourself and your life. And then when you take a step back and you think about how am I going to get there? It can seem impossible, honestly, and can feel really, really overwhelming. And many, many, many people, most people stop themselves right there. They come up with this vision, they can see all these aspects of it, but it feels really overwhelming to think about how to get there and seems pretty much impossible given your current reality. It doesn't really seem realistic that you would actually be able to get to that place and live in that way in this lifetime. And so you kind of let it fade over time. You kind of keep bumping up against it, keep thinking about it, and then your mind always jumps to how realistically, how am I going to get there? And so eventually it kind of fades into the background. There's always this desire and pull toward it, I think. But for most people, it just isn't on the table anymore. It's like, that's not really realistic for me. I'm going to stick to what I know and stick to this path that just seems more reasonable, really, at the end of the day. But here's the thing. If you are really in this place where you have made the decision and want to take your life in that direction, we need to go beyond the bigger picture and even beyond the place where, you're focusing on your mindset and focusing on shifting your beliefs and meditating to shift your energy and just doing these higher level, really conceptual things that we get caught up in a lot of times, right? We understand that growth mindset is a thing and that change is possible. And we can think this way inside our brains and know that these things are possible. We can even get there. That seems relatively reasonable. It's like, these are the first steps. I know that change is possible and that I can move my life in that direction. I can get to that future reality. And I'm going to start by shifting my mindset and shifting some beliefs and really focusing on managing my energy. We can do all those things. But when it kind of comes down to it, you're not seeing the changes really in your day-to-day life. It's like, okay, so I understand that change is possible and I'm, in this high vibe place on a regular basis, but I'm not seeing the changes happening. I'm not seeing these shifts that I think should be happening in my day-to-day life. And then we go back to the place of feeling really overwhelmed by this whole thing. And there we are, stuck in the overwhelm again. And it's because our brains have a really, really hard time with this level of ambiguity or level of uncertainty that just naturally will exist while we're on this journey. We really like the idea of a roadmap or a step-by-step process where everything's all laid out in front of us in the most minute level of detail. We like it to be very nice and neat with clear directions on exactly what you need to do to get there. But that isn't how this works. Instead, it really requires you to hold this vision and keep the faith and take it one step at a time, day by day. And you'll know that you're taking the right steps because it will feel right. You have to actually be able to tune in to this level of inner knowing and inner guidance that is within all of us. We just need to be able to really trust it and tune into it. And that is where the major shifts start to actually materialize in our lives. Day by day, the way that you're doing this, the way that you're actually being in your life is tuning in to this inner knowing and this inner guide that is telling you internally whether this feels like the next right move. But what many of us do is we start to think about what's the most logical next step or what most people might do in this situation. And then we start to feel conflicted and overwhelmed by all of it because what we're feeling like is probably the next right move for us, maybe isn't the most logical next step or isn't the decision that most people would make in our situation. And that's where it gets really, really, really tough. Your brain has been wired to follow the rules that you have been given throughout your life and to do the thing that makes sense versus the thing that just doesn't make sense logically for you to do. But that's not always really the next right move for you in your life. And so this ability to tune inward and know what feels right for you and feels like the next right move and will align with this bigger vision that you've created for yourself. That is where you actually make the changes and move your actual real reality toward this vision that you've created. And here's what is most challenging and gets really overwhelming for people is if you are on a journey to creating a life that looks different than most people's lives, than most of the people around you, or your family of origin that you grew up in, if you want your life to look different than these lives that you see around you, you are going to need to make decisions differently than what they are making them. But your brain is focused on making decisions in a way that most people around you would make them. What seems logical? It's logical because most people would make this decision in this situation, right? But you need to make decisions differently. You need to be able to make a decision that's actually moving you in this totally different direction in your life than what most of those people have gone. And that's where the key happens. And that is where truly the magic happens, is in the day-to-day decision making and choices that you're making throughout your life. And that's how you move in that direction. But so many of us get caught up in this higher level, and it all feels very overwhelming to try to think about, well, what do I do on a day-to-day? Because it conflicts with the things that our brain is telling us are the right things to do or the most logical or strategic things to do in life, given where you are right now. So what I see happening very frequently in this space is you're doing a lot of the right things, focusing on shifting your mindset, shifting your beliefs, meditating to shift your energy, and truly trying to lean into how you're feeling and understanding these aspects of yourself. Maybe even looking at your human design chart and trying to use that as guidance. But it's really challenging, and where I see people kind of, if they've already started on the journey and they've realized that they truly want to go in this direction, they've made the decision that they're moving in this direction. They get stuck at this point when they feel like they're doing all of the things that they're being told to do, that they're hearing about, but they're not seeing the shifts and the changes in their reality that they want to see. They feel like they're not actually moving in this direction and seeing any of this vision materialize for themselves. And so I think where the disconnect is that the decisions that you're making on a day-to-day basis are actually going to get you there. And taking aligned actions. And by aligned, I mean, those are the actions that feel right in the moment and that truly align with this bigger vision that you have for your life. What's happening instead is that the actions you're taking are the ones that you feel like make sense. You're making decisions based on what seems logical. And so you're still moving through your life on a day-to-day basis in the same way that you always have been. You're changing your beliefs, you're focusing on your mindset, you're shifting your energy, but when it comes down to the day-to-day, you're still moving through a lot of the same patterns that you always have been. And so that is where I think a lot of the overwhelm, the confusion, all of the things that are coming into play are coming from, is that you're doing the things, you feel like I'm doing the stuff and I'm making these shifts that everyone's telling me I need to make, but I'm not seeing it happen in my reality. All of this is to say that the best way to stay out of that overwhelm is to hold your vision, know that you're moving toward it, trust that it's going to happen for you, as long as you stay present in the moment to moment feelings that you're feeling and make decisions, take the actions that really feel right and really feel aligned for you, regardless of whether they seem like the most logical or reasonable actions or decisions that you could be making in your life in this moment. If this resonated with you, and if you are feeling like you're in a place where you've created this vision, you know that you want to move your life in this direction, and you feel like you're doing all of the things, but it still feels really overwhelming to think about how to move your life in that direction, or it feels overwhelming when you start trying to think about the steps to get there, then I highly encourage you to check out this intensive training that I have created, because this truly is meant and designed to put it all together in a way that gives so much clarity about the pieces of this puzzle that are necessary in creating this change and truly getting to the place where you are living your vision for yourself. Check out the link below in the details for this episode. They should all be there. And I am so incredibly excited to take some amazing women through this intensive with me. Okay, that's it for today. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can leave a comment below. Otherwise, you can send me a DM on Instagram at Melissa Ann Chavis. I would absolutely love to hear from you, because it's challenging in this environment where I'm just, speaking to you, but I just don't always get to hear the feedback or hear how any of this is landing for you. And I absolutely would love to. So that's it for today. Until next time, with all of my love, I hope that you have an amazing rest of your day. That's it for another episode of the Authentic Awakening podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you found it helpful, I'd love to hear from you. You can do that by liking and subscribing to my YouTube channel or rating and reviewing the podcast wherever you're listening.